Welcome back to FlyQuest versus TSM. We're here at game number 4, where FlyQuest command a lead of 2-1 over TSM. After things finally got switched up in game number 3, FlyQuest proved that it doesn't need to be the same 10 champions on the Rift to walk away with it.
True that. And we are on match point, Captain Flowers. FlyQuest win one more, they can make their way to that championship qualifier meetup that they're looking forward to. But that also means pressure is on TSM. You can't make any more mistakes. They have to step up now. In the past, it has been Bjergsen with a lot of big plays. He did it to get them here even with the Zoe, getting some critical one-shots in their previous series versus 100 Thieves. Everybody's looking at draft, though. The Rakan problem. What are you going to do about it? TSM are on blue side now, so unlike all the previous matchups, they can actually first pick it now for themselves and utilize that power in the hands of Biofrost, finding the engages. They can still ban it away, but I actually hope that they do ban it away because I want to see, IgNar with the Pike or Blitzcrank, which he showed in the last setup that they had versus Golden Guardians. Like, there are more options, more versatility that IgNar has to offer. He's not being forced to show it, though, because they can just do Rakan over again, and he is so good at playing with it and playing with those stopwatch usages.
I'm really interested to see how things change up around that Rakan, because for me, IgNar has been the clear MVP of the series here for FlyQuest. Yes, we've seen some good gameplay out of PowerOfEvil. We've seen some good moves from everybody on the team, but IgNar is just the reason that they're doing everything that they're doing. Keeping him off of that champion will be important. Cast and banned away here by TSM along with the Syndra and Ornn. Now, FlyQuest, do you just ban the Rakan away? Do you tell TSM that, sure, you can pick it, but we got something lined up as a response? What's it going to be?
I would ban it, personally, because Daniel's test even touched on it. Xayah Rakan has been undefeated for TSM as well. Even though FlyQuest are using it really well right now, it's also a very potent tool in the hands of TSM. I think FlyQuest might have made a small mistake here, a little bit of hubris giving it over. TSM are playing around with mousing over other stuff, but we all know. We know they're locking in. We know what they're locking in.
They're hovering the salty run back again, but the Rakan...
Hey, fooling me.
Now, for FlyQuest, do you steal Xayah away, knowing that she's weaker if she doesn't have Rakan next to her? Or do you just decide, okay, we'll play the other half of the matchup, and you guys are now a Aphelios and Nautilus, or something similar?
I don't think you have to split it up. I think Rakan is pretty good with a couple of different AD carries, and FlyQuest will be fine with Aphelios, so they can just take that matchup. What I'm really interested in, what is IgNar's counter going to be to the Rakan? Because them leaving it up on purpose, they know they're giving this away.
What about
his most favorite champion, or his most famous champion, I should say,
Leona.
Is the Leona from the SKT series, where he pulled out the Fervor Keystone and they took him to 5 games. Setting it up here with the Kalista is going to give the support more power, which is something that FlyQuest should definitely do. As you just stated, IgNar has been the hugest of stars for this team thus far in the series, and with a Kalista ultimate to empower whatever support pick he has, I think they're very willing to give over the Xayah Rakan combo.
Xayah Rakan given away, Kalista locked in. Remember, this champion can go top or AD carry, but with Aatrox already locked in, you would expect it to be played AD carry. Let's see.
Aatrox has kind of fallen off, so...
Let's see how else is going to be done here. Renekton picked up for Broken Blade into the Aatrox matchup. Let's see if FlyQuest go for their support here, or if they want to wait until after the second half of bans.
Now, I personally really like Renekton into Aatrox, and I heavily favor the matchup. I know, there's a reason why pro players are very willing to blind pick the Aatrox, but I'm a huge fan of Renekton, especially if you get Executioner's Calling. Right now, to me, Renekton rushing Blade of the Ruined King is the supreme duelist. I love getting fully empowered W's off on people and seeing almost 50% of their HP immediately evaporate if they're from full, because it's percentage health you're taking off the top with 3 autos. In the end, though, Pantheon is picked up. I think that's a huge power pick for jungle right now. And Santorin will have so much agency in this game for creating dives, creating early ganks, cross-map movements. Pantheon just has a lot in the package. Maybe the only small thing that he's lacking is power clear.
Well, as the first half of the draft is wrapped up, remember, if you're watching with us on ESPN, that means it's once again time to head for a commercial break, but we'll be rejoining you guys once the game starts, and we'll see you right back here. Now, for everybody else, the draft continues. With that Pantheon picked up for the side of FlyQuest, we're seeing some support bans here from TSM. Taric will be banned away. It is often paired up with Kalista, makes an incredibly useful bowling ball. And FlyQuest, they don't want to be dealing with Zilean again. They'll ban that one away from Bjergsen.
Can I just say, it makes me feel special when we get to continue with like the secret mode for everybody else.
This is the cool kids club, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For your eyes only, the Zilean and the Azir banned out here. Honestly, both wise choices for me for FlyQuest. Obviously, Bjergsen is also really well known for his Azir. I think Dominate was even saying that's the champion he's most fearful of Bjergsen on. But Cassiopeia also taken away a lot of end-game carry potential. These high DPS late-stage game mages for PowerOfEvil have been so successful for the team. Don't forget, though, that they got here by stomping Golden Guardians with LeBlanc and Kassadin, AP Assassins, and FlyQuest are red side this time, so they have counterpick.
The one thing I do want to point out, though, as this could really be locked in.
Ballista!
Blitzcrank in Game 4, baby. But the one thing that I do want to point out here as we're moving forward, the games in this series have gone long. There are none of these games that are exhausting themselves before we scale into the late game portion. And right now, I think FlyQuest draft is the weakest late game draft that we've seen from either team so far in this series. Kalista falls off really hard, and Pantheon doesn't have the same power in the late game as a lot of other champions either. I really think PowerOfEvil needs something hard-hitting and hard-scaling to round this composition out.
So, while there are better scaling options, TSM are not necessarily picking them. Elise, Renekton, definitely super early game focus here. Your Renekton stun into Elise Cocoon. Everybody knows this combo. Everybody's expecting it for top lane pressure. It is almost the 101 of top lane jungle duo top lane pressure there. You can go for dives. You can drop turret aggro. Lot of options there. Doesn't necessarily scale into massive team fighters. So that's why I was curious what TSM were comfortable blind picking. And they end up going with a Sylas, which is in a weird state right now for me, because Sylas early on in lane is easily abusable right now. Since they changed the champion, he feels a lot more clunky to play because you can't get the same animation cancelings. Some timings have been put in for your auto attacks. And it also is into a LeBlanc now. They know that they're facing PowerOfEvil coming off of this amazing series versus Golden Guardians. If they give him any sort of lead, they are going to have to lock him down with CC. So, it is up to the rest of the team. They've drafted a decent amount of crowd control with them. Pretty much everybody else having some form, stun or snare. So, see if they can actually keep him down and keep the reins on.
Well, there's a ton of pick potential on this FlyQuest squad, man. You've got Pantheon, you've got Blitzcrank, you've got LeBlanc. And that just means if anybody on TSM is out of position, and particularly if they're out of position and they're not ahead in the game, FlyQuest can quickly snowball things in their favor. But for TSM, finally having that Rakan in their possession could be a big game changer here. And Broken Blade and Dardoch, whenever you see Elise and Renekton drafted together, you always want to see them working together nice and early to try to snowball things in the top lane.
Right. If you are coming from ESPN, it's the second half of Champion Select. It's one of the most common combos that we've had in professional play for years and years. Renekton can stun you with W. Elise can get up there and land an easy skill shot, stun, cocoon, follow-up. That CC duration is good enough to kill off most top laners. Plus, you have dive options What you want to look for are big minion waves being built up on the map. If Renekton can get control of the minion wave, you build up a double wave, and the Elise can come try and gank on that, dropping aggro with her repel. Meanwhile, though, back to the Sylas blind pick for TSM. I mentioned I always want to attack a Sylas early. I think he is one of the most vulnerable mid lane champions early on and should be pressured by junglers. That being said, Sylas also scales really, really well right now. What they gave him in exchange for taking some of the speed out of his auto attack resets, out of his combos, is just pure power, just pure numbers that they boosted on him. So if you are unable to attack the Sylas early, there are so many games where you've been laughing at him for the first 10-15 minutes, and all of a sudden he steals your ult, and he has achieved several levels from the early stages and is able to take over team fights. A lot of the buffs that they gave him were numbers buff that are actually skewed more towards leveling. So that is going to be on the menu for Bjergsen. Meanwhile, PowerOfEvil on the LeBlanc wants to create early action, as does Kalista Blitzcrank. Captain Flowers, you can explain the Ballista combo because
the Ballista combo.
It is one of the most fun to watch.
It is very interesting. Blitzcrank can pull an enemy, and then Kalista can warp Blitzcrank back to where she is. And so Blitzcrank ends up getting double the pull distance. It's pretty intense. And speaking of intense, I just noticed something about this game as our camera panned to the top side, and I want to see if you agree with me here. Broken Blade, I believe, chose his Renekton skin this game very specifically and very intense. He is playing SKT Renekton against PowerOfEvil and IgNar, who were on the 2017 Misfits roster that lost to SKT in the quarterfinals, even after almost having a miracle run to beat them. It was tragic. It was heartbreaking for EU fans everywhere because they were so darn close to doing what nobody thought could be done. And I feel like this is tilt sauce.
Let me join you on this investigation then.
Okay, what do you got?
Dardoch in on it? Because Elise has an SKT Elise skin as well. If Dardoch is also wearing an SKT skin.
He's not. He's using the flower one.
Maybe you are a bit too tinfoil hat for me then.
No, man.
I was ready with you there. Connecting the dots.
Broken Blade has gone rogue. This is true.
Okay.
This is true BM right here. I'm telling you, man. This is 4D chess right now. As Dardoch is saying, I don't need some chess. I'm just going to steal some buffs away instead. Manages to take his opponent's blue buff right as Santorin would be coming over the wall. Good use of the Elise there.
Yeah, we touched on Encham Select, but the Pantheon, only thing he really lacks is power clear. So not going to be able to catch up too quickly. Dardoch steamrolling ahead here. Level 4 already on the Elise, and we do expect a bottom to top focus now that he's done his counter jungling. Broken Blade up there with Press the Attack is a very advantageous trade if you can avoid these sweet spots, because, let's see it right now. Boom.
Yep, there we go.
Press the attack. All you need are 3 auto attacks, and your W, if it's unempowered, is going to give you 2. You get an extra 1 for it being empowered as well. And Conqueror for solo takes so much longer to stack up for Aatrox. One of the reasons why Renekton wants to actually pressure earlier on in the matchup. And there you go. Elise is headed up there right on time. Gank o'clock top lane.
It's gank o'clock. Let's see if Solo ends up falling victim to it. The wave is pretty far pushed up right here. Broken Blade just allowing that to go a little bit further forward. As there you go, Solo. I don't think this is a good spot to be in. He knows he's not getting out of it. He tries to walk away. Dardoch goes into the repel. Tries to flash out at the very end. I feel like that flash was a little bit unnecessary there. He stuck around for so long. You're already dead to rights.
What time is it? Time to gank an Elise Renekton lane. I don't know. We mention it every time. You're just like, how do they keep getting away with this? Well, they're built for that. You can see Broken Blade actually flashed because Dardoch used the cocoon as Solo was heading to the brush. He thought Solo was going to ward into the brush, so he didn't have any extra time to wait. And you want to layer the CCs there. So Dardoch lands the cocoon. Very well done by him, because a lot of the time you have the Renekton having to be the one to set it up, since his is easier to land point and click. But Dardoch lands his, so then Broken Blade flashes in to layer the CC. They take down Solo. It's one extra flash, as you pointed out there. Dardoch does burn his, but they got the kill, and they also make Solo have to worry about repeat ganks.
Yeah.
There's a reason that Renekton and Elise is such an infamous combo.
Biofrost moving into the enemy jungle now, seeing if he can just pop the blast cone, make it a little bit more difficult for Santorin to find a gank opportunity. Remember, Pantheon, although he has a gap closer, doesn't have the ability to use it to jump over walls, so blast cone is a bit more useful than normal for him. Santorin continue to just power farm, try to get towards that level 6, make it so he has that very impactful ultimate. Speaking of ultimates, you can see Bjergsen now level 6 himself, means he can start stealing those away from the enemy team, and we'll see which ones he gets the most value out of this game, because there aren't any of the ones that you think of that are going to be massive, but now we're going to see a massive Crocodile just
What time is it?
Solo before he's able to do much of anything about it. Dardoch just challenging Smites Santorin on the back end of the fight. It doesn't do a whole lot. Santorin and PowerOfEvil looking to chase after their opponents now, maybe grab some kind of a kill here onto Broken Blade. PowerOfEvil stunned up underneath the turret. He's going to be traded 1-for-1. And now that the teleport is coming in, Bjergsen's going to finish Santorin off as well. This is going immaculately for TSM.
Oh, you done messed up. Oh, wait, bottom lane. Let's see if we get a pull.
Nah.
Good dodge there from Kobbe.
Good counterattack from Kobbe as well.
Honestly, though, that it seems like we got a broken clock up there. It's always gank a clock, Renekton, Elise lane. They do get punished this time, though. Again, perfect setups. You see a double stack minion wave. You want to deny it. You get the full execution. Boom, they're done. Problem is he uses second slice and dice, and he got minion blocked.
Yeah.
Was that
really
four tower auto attacks there? Plus it delays him walking back to the tower. So that was a huge minion block by the ranged minions. But this is the big important part. They're both looking at the counter. They turned the play. Dardoch and Broken Blade immediately destroy PowerOfEvil upon him going for the quote-unquote easy kill on the low-health Renekton. Broken Blade getting his stun off there was paramount in TSM turning that one around. Very big heads-up play from him. Immediately expects PowerOfEvil to go in there. And PowerOfEvil went melee range to get the distortion damage. So very good job by Broken Blade finishing it off. And let's talk about Sylas. Guess what?
Yep.
They're all focusing top side. He doesn't get punished early. He does get a kill off of the roam top side. So you're accelerating that mid stage of the game I was talking about, where Sylas suddenly can pop off because he scales so well with all the numbers advantages. They realize, oh shoot, he just got a kill. This might become a problem. So Santorin does gank mid. Good job by FlyQuest to burn that summoner spell, take down the flash, but it's going to come at a cost.
Well, TSM gets themselves a Rift Herald. They get the first Rift Herald this game, which is going to be really helpful for them. That's what FlyQuest has been doing so far this series to their success. And honestly, this is the best looking TSM early game of the whole series. They're really doing some good work here before the 10-minute mark even rolls around. They've got a 2,000 gold lead. Dardoch knows he's stronger. He's going to walk right into Santorin's jungle and just dare him to fight back. It's easy pickings here for the Spider Queen, as IgNar shows up and decides to make those pickings a little more difficult. But now Bjergsen has showed up. He's got Santorin's ult, and he's using it right back against him. Biofrost is able to join the fray, now using the ulti from the Rakan. IgNar still trying to run away from Bjergsen, but it's a double kill. The Kingslayer to find the damage. PowerOfEvil's got some chains down. They grab a root onto Biofrost. Q3 from Solo finds the mark. PowerOfEvil still looking to grab a little bit more damage. Solo burning away but will not fall. And it's a 1-for-1 trade. Or 2-for-1 trade.
Clear focus from TSM. Yes, drafting Elise Renekton signals that you're going top, but what are they going to do about it? TSM just keep going top. They get another kill for themselves. And even though it is an IgNar roam, I think it's a really intelligent roam, by the way. He buys up the Moby boots. Guess what? Biofrost answers. And we talked about it in Champ Select. Not only have FlyQuest been doing work with the Rakan, but they may have forgotten that TSM can do the same.
That was a nice cocoon from Dardoch, just instantly being able to blow up WildTurtle there.
Very well done. Again, the early game from Dardoch is on point with this Elise. He still has Rift Herald too, so Kobbe can whittle down on that bottom turret. They could knock off some more plates as soon as they need. He actually didn't activate it for Kobbe. I thought they were going to mine a lot more off of that bottom turret and then do Dragon, because you can just activate that Rift Herald and move up to do Dragon yourself, but they are saving it. And it does give you an empowered recall, so when we're always looking at, all right, you need to get full value, get those turret points immediately so you have gold in your pocket to power spike earlier. It can also give you some empowered recalls to reset and rotate to the other part of the map quicker.
Well, now that everything in the early game has gone the way of TSM, this game presents us with a different kind of situation where FlyQuest now has to deal with quite a serious gold deficit early on in the game, the likes of which they haven't had to so far yet in this series, and we'll see how well they can recover. Because I stand by what I said about Kalista and Pantheon.
What time is it?
Champions you want in a situation like this. Tick-tock, gank block, gank block.
Oh, I like our little song now, too. That's
yeah, there ain't nothing to it. Yeah, catchy little limerick reminds you exactly what's going on. Of course, Solo doesn't need to be reminded. He's been learning that all too painfully here this game. First turret down, 12 minutes in. This is just an absolute destruction of FlyQuest by TSM here.
And Flowers, guess what? All the kills are going to the Sylas. That's even worse for FlyQuest. Are you kidding me? This champion is going to become unbearable. We were mentioning possible ults for him to steal. They're not as ideal as some team comps we've seen. You know, like, oh, sometimes there's Sejuani and Malphite and all these things. But
yeah,
Aatrox ult was one that I used when I used to do jungle Sylas. That is actually really, really good for hidden power because the Kingslayer heals you for so much. The Aatrox ult can also amplify that, plus it gives you the move speed to become a brawler. So it kind of changes the way you can even play Sylas as a champion, and this is now a 4-kill Sylas in the hands of Bjergsen, one of the strongest players here for TSM. Him and Broken Blade have both been doing quite a lot of work. See if they can push it through to the mid game, because Dragon number 1 was there, just under 3 minutes for number 2.
Bjergsen is just going to jump on anybody and instantly kill them once these fights really start breaking out. And I say breaking out, but it's not even the right words, because I feel like by the time they flare up, they're immediately just going to be crushed back into the dirt. Because FlyQuest is just so far behind. 5K at 14 minutes, man.
His team fight's going to be flared up like rashes all over. What are we going to do about it? I can't stop scratching.
There's no aloe vera ointment in the world that can save you from this one, man. This is just a situation that if you're FlyQuest, you are hoping and praying that TSM makes some mistakes, that they overextend, and that they're in a spot where you can somehow find those picks and find those punishes with Blitzcrank and LeBlanc and Pantheon all. Because a fair fight just isn't going to work. They find the pull right there. This is what I'm talking about. You get the pulls, you can make the moves, but flash over the wall means Broken Blade is safe.
Better keep running. PowerOfEvil's on the case.
There comes your Blast Cone. Santorin trying to chase even further, but a nice Blade of the Ruin King shuts it down. And remember, Pantheon ulti has a super long cooldown early, so being able to deny that from making a play is even more icing on the cake.
Okay, that means TSM, they take the weak side of the map too, pushing in on bottom and mid. Bottom does go down, and Dardoch's behind Turtle.
Oh. Forcing out the flash there with the cocoon. Dardoch just playing out of his mind here this game. Doing so well in game number 4.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we can try and come up with something here for FlyQuest, but it is so hard with this quick of an acceleration from TSM. They, because of the top lane play where 3 members went to go attack Broken Blade, they gave up their blue buff control, and TSM took that opportunity to set up for the Dragon. They've got deep wards now. Dragon is arriving in 47 seconds, and they're fully prepared. Turtle with no flash, and Bjergsen is on him.
Turtle uses the exhaust to try to stay alive, but Bjergsen, being a copy of PowerOfEvil, is able to distortion in and take him down. IgNar cannot get a return kill. Bjergsen walks away, 5-0.
Yeah, you can start flexing, stretching a little bit there for the Sylas because you have successfully scaled past your weak early game. 5 kills, fully stacked ring here. Wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility.
By the book.
That into the BM book, but it's definitely more BM on Sylas, who's a melee champion that's gonna get in there than we've seen on some of the at least ranged AP mages.
Come on, man! You get 2,000 health back every time you press W. He'll be fine.
True. All right,
I have
let's see about the dragon. Honestly, Rift Herald and then free dragon for TSM because FlyQuest can't really mount a counterattack with their positioning here. Their wards have been taken away. They don't have the gold to fund this fight. So TSM take up the Rift Herald first and then can actually set up for Dragon on their timeline. They can push in topside. Broken Blade's got his teleport ready. He's got 2 levels advantage over solo. So TSM are holding all the cards, and FlyQuest need them to drop some.
To drop some. Well, it's going to need to be a game of 52 pickup for FlyQuest to come back into this one. I just don't see how they can test their opponents when they're this far ahead. Zhonya's Hourglass 1 Bjergsen means that there's no way they're able to punish him in these types of situations. Drake is taken by TSM. PowerOfEvil jumping forward, trying to find if there's anything there that might be able to be picked off. There is not. And the items, you're talking about Broken Blade being 2 levels up on solo. He's also got his Blade of the Ruined King fully completed while stopping off for an Executioner's Calling for the 1v1. Solo has not even gone for CDR Garage Sale, but still doesn't have Black Cleaver because he's so far behind this game just now.
Oh, he make you a liar.
Yeah, I should have to talk just 5 seconds faster.
Yeah, too long. You're just gushing too long here.
Too slow, bro.
Happens to the best of us. Honestly, though, what you want to do when you're this far ahead, TSM, as TSM are, because we need to examine this. They have lost games with giant early games, right? So, again, you continue to focus on these neutral objectives. They quickly pick up Rift Herald and the Dragon. Then you have to safely ward the jungle. That is your first priority so that you can starve out gold income from your opponents. And they can't accomplish that. Dardoch goes down in the enemy jungle. He maybe was trying to place one of those wards or clear one out, but it is a good job for FlyQuest punishing him. And we've seen this series, he fails to slice.
All right, Broken Blade might finally drop to this play. He got out of it last time, but this time he's just going to turn it right back around. 1v3, no problem. Broken Blade manages to already get himself 1 kill. Can he do anything else here with this fight? Looking to maybe heal up a little bit further here, but can't do it before he falls. It's a 1-for-1 in that trade, and the cost, Kobbe, is the bottom lane. The tier 2 is taken. Shelly's going to get a headbutt here onto the tier 3. PowerOfEvil manages to take her down, but Broken Blade is a monster right now.
Yeah, that's a rough one. It always feels bad as a jungler when you're ganking someone who got camped a lot for, because, and especially a Renekton, with all that burst damage, really difficult to survive there. Santorin does get traded in the counter kill, and it is some money back for FlyQuest. You know, they did get 2 picks that was preceded by their pick onto Dardoch. So again, like we saw earlier in the series when FlyQuest were winning, they continually look for the next opportunity of picking someone on TSM off. And that's one thing that TSM for this series do need to clean up if they're going to make good on this comeback. Currently, they're in an amazing spot to do that. They have such a tremendous lead, but that's kind of why we highlighted first safely warding the enemy jungle so that you can starve them out of gold. You can continue to push in the lanes and just stack up the dragons, stack up these neutral objectives for yourself so that you have a win condition to end out the game.
Yeah, the win condition. The Cloud Soul is the one. I talked earlier about how Ocean Soul seems to be the one that most people agree is the most powerful. Cloud Soul generally ends up being on the list of least powerful for many champions in the game. It's also the most varied, where some champions like Jhin get almost no use out of it because you root yourself when you ult, but other champions can get quite a big use out of it. See what that turns into for TSM this game, as Broken Blade's able to force the flash and ult out of Solo, with Biofrost threatening his commitment to that engage as well. Solo knows he has nothing to do but retreat, and the tier 2 will drop in this top lane.
Exactly. Those are the benefits of warding up this jungle. It makes your rotation to any skirmish or any objective quicker. So while Broken Blade starts up the 1v1 with Solo, Biofrost can rotate quicker up through the jungle that they have vision control over. And after forcing the flash, starting up the Baron here, Kobbe has a little bit of damage, so they can eventually burn it down as FlyQuest are pinned too far back.
Turtle does have blue trinket ready to go. We'll see if FlyQuest end up being wise to this. All right, they've seen it in the pit.
Or is it?
The Baron is already down to 600 HP. It is going to be secured. Santorin tries to go for the flash steal. I respect it. You're so far behind in the game, you need a miracle to win, but that was not the miracle they're looking for here today. The water will remain water. The wine is just for TSM's after party after game number 4, because they are taking this one all the way right now. Biofrost goes for the dive. Not going to be killed in return, but so very close. PowerOfEvil gets away off to the side, but IgNar can't say the same as Solo runs away to the top side. Broken Blade in hot pursuit. Tries to find just a little bit more CC and damage here. There's his stun. Bjergsen follows it up. The CC is layered perfectly. Bjergsen godlike this game. He's got the stolen Blitzcrank ulti ready to drop on a wave or a team fight, whatever is more appropriate. PowerOfEvil's just trying to cut a minion wave. Come around from behind. Santorin jumps in. All that was Uber Eats. That was doorstep. That was a Uber Eats Pantheon. But that's all he can do. It's not a winnable game.
Santorin's an efficient driver there. I'll tip him. Thank you, sir. That was quick.
Went over all the terrain. Had a good time driving.
He just delivered one up in the jungle there, and he's right back.
My goodness.
Thank you. Wow.
Well, it's a rough game here for FlyQuest. I said during draft that none of the games in this series have been fast. Well, this one is fast. TSM 10,000 gold ahead. They've got complete Drake controller on Soul Point now, 23 minutes in. It's 14-4. They have one inhibitor exposed on the enemy side, not taken, but just ready, right for the picking. And we'll see how quickly they can close this one out.
I mean, honestly, most people predicted 5 games for this series because of how closely matched these teams are and because of what we've seen coming into this. And TSM, while they do have some games where you lose quite a lot of hope, they also have these ones where they get so far ahead sticking to their game plan that it's just like you're talking about. This is going to be the first quick game of the series and sets up so much tension for the game 5 position that will position them for the championship qualifying meetup with EG next week.
Broken Blade moving forward. There's your follow-up from Biofrost. They're just making it look easy at this point, and honestly, how could it not be with the lead they have? Bjergsen will grab the kill onto PowerOfEvil. Everybody except IgNar is dead. He looks pretty cool driving around with his race car wheels. He's fast with Righteous Glory, but he can be fast in the fountain.
My favorite part is the honk.
He can do the little honk by himself because he's the only man left standing. TSM will put this game away. 25 minutes, and they will take us to Silver Scrapes. They will take us to game number 5.
And just like that, Flowers, we're into game number 5. I am actually so excited for this. I hope that we get a good game here, a good ending to this series, because it has been so fun to take the journey through where, TSM coming out with a really close victory in game number 1. FlyQuest had such a big lead. And then FlyQuest gaining a lot of momentum in this series, getting them to this game at match point, but quickly being shut down, turned around by TSM. Let's get into it.
I fully expect in the 5th and final game for FlyQuest to take blue side back. They don't look as good in red. I'll just put it that way. They definitely want to get back in the blue. It seems to be how they want to do this. But we're going to have that Game 5. But before we go to break, for those of you new to League of Legends esports, allow me to introduce you to one of our favorite traditions here in the LCS. When a best of 5 goes the distance, all the way to that 5th and final game, we play the Game 5 anthem. So enjoy the majesty that is Silver Scrapes. And we'll see you here right after the break. Welcome back to the 2020 LCS Spring Playoffs. Hope you enjoyed the Silver Scrapes because, boys, we know what that means. We're going to a Game 5 between FlyQuest and TSM. Quick thoughts on that smash of a victory from TSM and how they pushed us to this Game 5.
Completely different team. Completely different team. All in the early game, and it actually worked. So that's kind of scary. That's what they said they were working on all split long, and it actually doesn't throw a game here.
You called them an early game team.
Yeah, I was about to say.
That's what they were supposed to do.
You say a completely different team. It's like, this is what I was expecting the whole series, actually.
They usually would lose after. They'd get the lead and then struggle, but this was that's new. That's
9 times that happens. The other 9 times they crush kids, you know? Like, when they're on, they're incredible, and that's what happened this game.
Well, let's talk about what it took to get them there, Jat. Champions like some notable things. Renekton and Elise as that duo for the top in the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think top lane Renekton Elise becomes good as long as Renekton has that cornerstone item to build, and Blade of the Ruin King is now that Spear of Sojin replacement from back in the day. So I think it actually scales really well into the mid and late game, but more importantly, they actually executed dives around the top side of the map. I do think it's pretty funny how we had this massive conversation around Xayah Rakan because TSM actually doesn't lose with it, and FlyQuest had a lot of control in the first 3 games, but the bot lane actually didn't matter this game. It was completely about the mid, jungle, top, and just the total decimation of Solo and Santorin that we witnessed.
And Crumbs, this is where we've talked about, for so much of the regular split for TSM, the focus was around Dardoch and Broken Blade and the work they could get done, as a duo in the top lane to give him individual advantages, which he could then use to carry through to victory.
And this is a strong balance in being able to take away what worked for FlyQuest in game 1 and still have those strong picks for yourself, right? They snatched away that Renekton in the first round so that they wouldn't be banned away against the Aatrox, took away the Elise, even had the foresight to ban away the Catherine in case they wanted to take that Sylas. And so them playing to the top side seems to work very well against this current FlyQuest lineup that obviously has less time playing around top lane than any other lane. It's just undeniable. You have less time with a new player. And so I saw a lot of mistakes from Santorin and IgNar when it comes to playing and assisting solo in a dire circumstance. And if TSM smelled the blood in the water after that first set of ganks and the way that they won so seamlessly through top, they should do the same thing again.
I mean, it was a wildly fast game, sub 25 minutes mark. So often in these best of fives, we talk about momentum. In particular, when you go into that 5th and final game, a win like that has to be the biggest boon you could ever ask for TSM.
Yeah, that is the life that you were hoping to see out of this team. They finally won their first early game, and this just makes me remember, what Jat was saying after game 1 about kind of stealing a game that FlyQuest was winning, and they kind of came back and they won that one. You think TSM's got to win some early games. This is the first one they won. They could easily win another early game and potentially snowball through. So I'm looking at this as going to game 5 like, okay, you have the momentum. You stole a game you probably shouldn't have. The only thing working against you right now is the fact that FlyQuest is going to have side selection. But other than that, everything seems to be going well. And when Dardoch is on a skirmish-focused jungler as opposed to the engaging jungler, I think there's a lot less of a reliance on him. And Biofrost can be the one kind of starting that off.
And just for some context of how good that early game was, FlyQuest won the previous 3 early games by 1.3, 400, and 1.4k gold. TSM's lead at 15 minutes in game 4 was 5,560, which is 2.4k more than all of FlyQuest's leads combined in games 1 and 3. So they blew that early game completely wide open, just blew the top off of the game. It'll be really interesting when they swap sides yet again, because while I think denying the Rakan was important, it was also really important, weirdly, that FlyQuest didn't pick Trundle. It wasn't even banned away from them, so FlyQuest is really going to try to get back some of that control that they lost in this last game.
Those are some scary numbers. We do have to throw our ESPN audience to a quick commercial break. We'll see you right back here to talk Game 5 in just a moment. Jack, continuing down along that line of logic and how TSM built such an insurmountable lead so quickly, but contrasting that, as you said, against the previous game gold deficits that they have. Again, it just paints this crazy picture.
I was about to say, this is one of those stats where when you look at it, you're like, okay, well, how you get those numbers matters, because if you just look at, on average, they're up 600 gold. They must be winning the early game. They must be a better early game team. It's like, no, they are not doing better than FlyQuest in the early game. They're a more volatile early game team. So, this is such a great graphic for everyone who's ever, wondered how manipulative stats can be. TSM had one good early game. And so it's really important to think about that heading into the next series. And when you start next game, what's happening in game 5? Is it a monstrous TSM lead, or is it a small FlyQuest lead? Because TSM won game 1 when they were down 1,300 gold, and that's a scary prospect.
Well, that kind of sparks... Oh, go ahead, Jet. Sorry.
I do think there's one other thing, and I put it in my predictions, guys. We have to remember the fact that Bjergsen shaved his head for more efficiency in
see
practice.
How that is more efficient.
He's more aerodynamic,
His
Mark.
hair was getting too long. He doesn't want to style it and stuff during the day. And it's shown off. It's shown off on the Rift, Mark. I don't know why you're not buying this.
I like how your head up, the hair normally keeps the head warm, but without hair, it's cooler, so you can have more calculations.
He's a cool head. He's a cool-headed man.
I'm glad this
Carry
conversation is
with
happening.
less hair on your face.
Yeah, Mark, you thought Dardoch was the hot-headed person on TSM. In fact, it was Bjergsen until he shaved his head, and he's now
he's able to keep
cool-headed,
cool head.
level-headed.
This is a non-ESPN viewers topic right now. This is
I don't know what you're talking about, man. This is the only way to talk about a Game 5. No, but you know what's funny is actually returning to that gold graph discussion, because I think it paints the picture of, as you said, kind of two very different teams. You have the inconsistent TSM, which has shown us that when they fire on all cylinders, like they just did in Game 4, they will run away with it. For FlyQuest, there's a little bit more consistency in the advantages that they'll garner, but they're less drastic. And so it feels like at times when they're in a winning position, they still have less wiggle room. They have to execute cleanly as opposed to being able to play with a massive 5K gold lead.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, you got something? I got something, but it's a little unconventional.
You go.
So I think when you get to these kinds of games and you have a team that is already showing that they're going to be so much better if they go into the early game, what you can do as FlyQuest is ease up some of the bans that would normally throw TSM into a completely different composition. So things like Ornn, you let the Ornn go through. If TSM snatch it, you know they're not playing early game around top side. So you can go and free up these bans to target more of Dardoch's champion pool, make sure that he's off that. And so if TSM falls for the trap and takes those champions, no longer are they the early game. If they don't and they pick it, then you have the scaling.
Interesting thing to consider when so many bans were thrown at the mid lane across this series, and yet Bjergsen still finds tremendous success being pushed all the way down to the Sylas on this one. We're welcoming back our viewers from ESPN, just talking a little bit more about what these players might need to bring out here in Game 5 to walk away with the victory and move on to that championship qualifier. Bjergsen, of course, will always be a major factor in TSM's success, and things were no different in that Game 4.
Yeah, gotta remind everyone this picture is out of date. He no longer has the beard or
No
the
beard, no hair.
He's completely shaved. But he dominated that last game on Sylas, and it was a bit of a weird pick within the context. He's actually been playing extremely well all series, and I kind of am with Crumbs that my eyes are just locked into this draft and what TSM has to do. The three previous times that FlyQuest has been blue side and TSM has been red, the bans have been completely identical. So the one ban that I think, I've been looking at it during this conversation, I think TSM needs to either open Ornn and ban Rakan, or just not ban Syndra and leave both open. And I think that's the spicier one, because the Syndra can actually one-shot the Rakan often when Rakan tries for these engages. I've seen it happen before, and Bjergsen is also, I think, undefeated on the split on Syndra.
You need to shave your head again. He's got to shave his head like Bjergsen, if that's how he's thinking. Because you keep that Syndra banned for sure. Because FlyQuest will snap it up right away. Well, that was one of the losses that they took when they threw that massive gold lead in the regular season. It was against Syndra. And we know PowerOfEvil has a fantastic Syndra. I'm with you on the Ornn. Something's going on in your head to make you think that you want to leave up Syndra on red
Too
side.
much hair.
Yeah. Hey,
too much hair.
Crumbs, you threw out the idea of maybe letting the Ornn through in this case to pigeonhole, TSM towards a more late game scaling composition. Geez, my words escape me. As opposed to the Renekton that they were playing this time around. Again, we got to talk about Broken Blade as a win condition for TSM. If the Ornn were even left open, is TSM committed to playing it, or should they actually say, we're not taking the bait, we're going early for Broken Blade because we believe in it?
TSM should not take the bait, but that's the plan that FlyQuest should go for. When you give so many options to the enemy for broken champions, what can end up happening is that they snatch a lot of them up, but then the synergies are off, or it just goes against what they've been working for. I think TSM just lets it slide and just focuses on making sure that they have these counter matchups. It seems like FlyQuest put a pretty big priority in taking Solo's pick early, and that might be what TSM is banking on, because we saw rotations of the Aatrox very early on both sides, and you have the gangplank right away. So I think the prio of Solo's pick will have to change for FlyQuest so that TSM doesn't get to abuse him so hard.
Last thing I want to do here is talk about players without the champions, because we've had a lot of focus on the compositions around them, but as we always return to this idea that execution matters on the day, let's talk about the players that are on the stage, or quote-unquote the virtual stage here today, competing. And which set of five do you have the most confidence in coming into the fifth game of a best of five to navigate execution and strategy regardless of composition?
You got to start with Bjergsen, number one, as the person that you are willing to put the ball in their hands. You know, if he wants another Sylas game, if he wants to leave Syndra open and he's saying, give me Echo or Fizz into it, I'm Peter Zhang, I'm the coach. I'm saying, okay, Bjergsen, that's your shot. You know, you got to land it. And so, like, I do believe they can do whatever they're feeling. I think Game 5 especially is one of those comfort-esque games. And so making sure people are on things that they're not going to have to be second-guessing their actions as they're going, something they're very used to playing, is really important. And so, you know, as well as going to their play style, like the Ornn point is a great one because I wouldn't really want Broken Blade on that in this moment. He had so many critical plays in that last game on his Renekton that, like, I want them to have the things that they're comfortable on.
Jad, who's the guy for FlyQuest?
The guy for FlyQuest is PowerOfEvil, but it's a chance that IgNar can make the difference. PowerOfEvil has been their tried and true carry throughout. The last thing that I would say, though, is it's not necessarily the stars that decide some of these big moments. If Dardoch plays badly like he did in Game 3, that could be it. If Turtle goes forward at the wrong time, that could also be it. So your stars got to carry, and your role players have to also do their job. So it's going to be an interesting Game 5.
One win separates each of these teams, FlyQuest and TSM, from the championship qualifier and a shot at the title here in the 2020 LCS Spring season. We are heading to one quick commercial break before we get ourselves into that fifth and final game. Kobbe and Captain Flowers will be here on the other side to see you.